from American Ground Radio, heard nightly here on KEEL from 6 till 7. Steve Parr is here. Okay, before we continue with our global warming, our crazy man denier tirade.
Yes.
And I'll go off on mine in just a couple of seconds.
I can't wait.
You're not just a former television meteorologist. I mean, you are, and
I am.
There's a lot of credibility that goes with that. By the way, he never wore shoes on television. I don't want to talk about it, but I do want to talk about that literally and seriously.
Yeah.
You have a background in something more than meteorology, which qualifies you to talk about global warming or the hoax that it is from a very scientific point of view.
I have a master's degree in geosciences from Mississippi State, and one of the things that you do have to study is climate in there. So you really, and you have to really go into what is climate. Climate is not about rainfall. Climate is not about temperatures. Climate is actually about plants and animals.
What did you say going to the break? You said in California, talking about the wildfires.
Yes.
And you said it's something to expand that thought, something that environmentalists do, the radical ones.
The radical environmentalists are really trying to stop nature from happening.
What does that mean?
Well, look, they're fighting against climate change, right? We got to stop climate change. Well, that's ridiculous. Climate has never been perfectly stable. We are on a ball that is spinning around a fire out in space, and we're wobbling all the time, and we got uneven distribution of land and water. We've got atmosphere moving around. The climate on Earth has never stopped changing. It constantly changes. The word climate includes the word change.
But with environmentalists,
they're trying to stop climate change.
The leftist environmentalists, they always throw in the hyphenated man-made.
Yes, and what they're really, they say we got to stop man-made global warming. That was where this really all started. Anthropogenic, catastrophic global warming. And look, we've accomplished that because there is no catastrophic man-made global warming. We've got pockets of urban development where we have certainly in small climates, microclimates, we have changed the climate in those areas. We've changed it through land use, but that's not catastrophic, and it's not global, and it's not necessarily warming.
Have any of the dire warnings, because Jerry Brown, governor of California, made a whole bunch of those again last night or on Saturday.
There's not a single dire warning of Miami's going to be underwater, Manhattan's going to be underwater, the polar ice caps are going to melt, you're going to have ice-free summers, and ships are going to be able to sail right on through. No, none of that has occurred.
Whenever I discuss this with someone, I always go to Wright but they're cooking the books. And people say, what do you mean? I say, well, let's start with the East Anglia emails.
Yes.
East Anglia University is a college in England that's I don't know if they continue to do so. I would imagine so.
They still are.
A ton of money from the United Nations, who funds the IPCC.
Right.
Which is basically the
International Panel on Climate Change.
And it's the global radical environmentalist body.
Yes.
And they were doing all the computer models, and they were doing all the research, etc. And among these emails, among all these scientists at East Anglia University, one guy admits to the other in an email, well, you know what? If we want to keep getting all this money from the United Nations, we're going to have to keep cooking the books.
Well, in another email, he says after they started cooking the books, and by cooking the books, what you mean is they actually adjust the global average temperature. So you take there are all these weather stations all over the world, right? They take the raw data from those weather stations, they put them into a computer program which adjusts the raw data, and now magically at the end of this adjustment, it's warmer in the present and it's colder in the past. I still say the warmest year in U.S. history is 1934. 1934, that's the warmest year in U.S. history when you look at the raw data. When you look at the unadjusted or the adjusted data, they say it's 2016. Man, I don't think 2016 was actually warmer than 2010. Maybe it was, but it's hard to tell with the adjusted numbers. But the issue is that after they started cooking those books, there was another email that said, we can't turn over this raw data to all these climate change deniers because they're just going to try and prove us wrong. Look, that's the opposite of science. Whenever you do science and you're putting out your theory, you're putting out your ideas, you're supposed to release all of your data, all of your methodology, and ask others, can you replicate what we did? If they can, it might be true. If they can't, it's not true. You've got to discard it and move on. We don't do science in climate science.